rusted iron gates creaked open, revealing a cemetery shrouded in fog and darkness. A group of 4 friends had dared to enter the abandoned graveyard after midnight, each carrying a flickering lantern that cast dancing shadows around them. As they ventured deeper into the mist-filled cemetery, the sound of their own breathing and the beating of their hearts echoed around them. The headstones were old and crooked, some toppled over or half submerged in the thick fog that seemed to ooze between the cracks in the earth like a thick white liquid. One of the friends, a girl named Sarah, shivered and hugged herself. "I don't like this place," she whispered, her voice trembling. "Let's just get this over with and go home." But the others, emboldened by youthful bravado and cheap beer, urged her on. They walked past crumbling mausoleums and monuments, their shadows stretching and warping into grotesque shapes in the flickering lantern light. The silence was heavy, broken only by the distant hoot of an owl and the rustling of unseen animals in the undergrowth. Then they heard it, a whispering voice that seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere. It spoke of things just beyond their perception, of sights and sounds too terrible for mortal ears to comprehend. The friends stopped in their tracks, their faces pale in the lantern light. They strained to listen, but the voice soon faded into silence. Was it the wind playing tricks on them, or was there something else at work in this forsaken place? As if to answer their unspoken question, a dark shape began to form in the swirling mist ahead of them. It seemed to writhe and twist, taking on a vaguely human form before dissolving back into the fog. Fear turned to ice in their veins. They wanted to run, to tear through the suffocating darkness and escape into the safety of the night. But their feet were rooted to the spot, their bodies frozen by an unseen terror. Then another voice cut through the silence, closer this time, and it spoke directly to them, its tone a raspy whisper. "Turn back while you can. There is no escape." The friends screamed and finally broke and ran, stumbling blindly through the fog-choked graveyard. But their terror-stricken flight was short-lived, for as they rounded a moss-covered statue of a weeping angel, they saw that the path ahead had vanished beneath the swirling mist, leaving them trapped in a fog-filled labyrinth with no way out. As the full weight of their terrifying situation sunk in, a sense of despair settled over them. They were trapped in a place where the veil between the worlds was thin, where the spirits of the dead had nowhere to rest. And then they heard the sound that chilled them to the bone, the heavy thud of footsteps approaching from behind. Turning, they saw a dark figure emerge from the fog, its eyes glowing with an eerie green light. It moved with an unnatural speed and grace, gliding over the uneven ground as if it were floating. The friends screamed again, this time in terror, and ran blindly through the fog, the footsteps growing louder, closer. They could hear their own ragged breathing and the pounding of their hearts as they stumbled over the uneven ground. Then, as suddenly as it began, the chase ended. The footsteps faded into the distance, and an unnatural silence descended once more. Panting, they collapsed onto a nearby tomb, their bodies shaking with fear. As the first rays of dawn pierced through the fog, they fled the graveyard, not stopping until they were far away from the place of death and despair. But as the adrenaline began to fade, they knew that they had stumbled upon something truly terrifying, a place where the dead refused to stay buried. As the camera panned back, we saw that the graveyard was indeed filled with countless spirits, all watching, waiting for their next victims to stumble into their midst.